And with just days to go before he leaves the White House, Barack Obama faces a battle over his legacy. A political showdown is underway in Washington over his health care reforms, with the Republicans promising to repeal the legislation as soon as possible. President Obama has been meeting fellow Democrats in Congress to discuss how to protect the Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare. It started with a simple goal: to extend health insurance coverage to all Americans. Vice President-elect Mike Pence said Donald Trump is working to ensure an orderly transition to a new health care system. Earlier, Mr. Trump warned Republicans to ensure the Democrats took the blame for what he described as the Obamacare disaster. Laura Bicker has more.
There have been two distinguished guests here on Capitol Hill this morning. The first, President Obama, here to try to save his key healthcare reforms, and the other, Vice President-elect Mike Pence, here to talk about repealing it and replacing it. Well, with me is Congressman Bruce Westerman from Arkansas. Very nice to have you here. So, repealing it and replacing it, what are you going to replace Obamacare with?
Well, I'm not sure replace is the right word. The first order of business will be to repeal some of the bad parts of Obamacare, as much of it as possible, through the reconciliation process. And then it'll be a process to put in good legislation that puts patients first, that's about a patient's ability to get access, something that's not going to... You know, we've seen the cost of insurance premiums skyrocket, not just on the exchanges, where we've seen as much as 113, 115% increases just this year. But for private individuals who are buying their health insurance through their employer, we've seen deductibles go up and we've seen premiums go up, and we've got to get this under control and make it more patient-centered. Okay,
you've talked about the problems there with Obamacare, right. But you're saying, just to be clear, you're not going to rip the whole Affordable Care Act up, you're going to keep some of it?
Well, through the reconciliation process, there are certain things we can rip up that deal with taxes and spending, and then we'll have to look at the individual pieces of the whole healthcare system and look at it in components such as Medicaid and Medicare, and work on those as individual pieces instead of one massive bill like we got with Obamacare, where nobody understood what was in it when they got it.
So let's talk about the 20 million Americans who currently have health insurance that they wouldn't have had health insurance before Obamacare. Will they get to keep it?
Now a lot of those 20 million were people who had insurance and were pushed over into the exchanges or on to Medicaid. The rollback process will be a slow one. It took 5-6 years to implement Obamacare as we have it now. You can't just pull the rug out from under it all at one time. We've got to do this in a methodical process, give people the peace of mind that we're not going to pull the rug out, that we're going to do this in a way that allows people access to health care, but we're going to do it in a smart way where we're debating individual components and issues that are good for patients.
So are you gearing up for a fight with Democrats, or do you think the two parties can perhaps at least try to work together on some points?
Yeah, I would think we could work together, because when you look at the failures, the increased premiums, like their doctor, they could keep their doctor. That's not been true. We're told that their premiums will go down $2,500. That's not true. We've seen increased deductibles where the out-of-pocket expenses are tremendous. Just simple things like putting in health savings accounts that allow Americans to save money for those expenses with the higher deductibles, and to keep that money for future years, or small solutions. I'm not in favor of one big package to try to replace what's there right now.
And just briefly, if I may, as a Republican, right, you must be pretty happy with the state that your party has found itself in. Briefly, if you can, what are you looking forward to under Donald Trump?
Well, I'm just going into my second term, so it's very refreshing to come here and to think that we can actually pass good legislation, get it on the president's desk, and get it signed into law. The meetings so far have been great, especially with Vice President-elect Pence. He was a member of this body. He's willing to work with us, and I think we're seeing a common vision and a vision that's been mandated by the American people, that they want the country to move in this direction, and I'm excited about helping it move that way.
Congressman Westerman, thank you very much
for
your time. Well, I heard from a Democratic congressman earlier today, and he said he felt quite sad that this may be President Obama's last visit to Congress. So you've seen both sides within just a few hours, but the President-elect will take his place in the White House in just 6